Here with Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire. Coach, obviously a really great season, a successful season. When it ends and when the transfer portal closes and when recruiting goes away for just a little bit, what does Joey McGuire do to kind of reset in the offseason?
Well, I haven't done anything in 2 years, so I promised my wife that I would take her somewhere. So as soon as that second signing day was over, we signed one young man, a defensive lineman. Then I gave the coaches a week off, and Debbie and I went and sat on a beach in Turks and Caicos. And I don't know if I could relax though, because the guys are still working back here. And so I told her, I said, I'll always take you somewhere, but we need to do it over spring break. I can't do it while the players are still, in here working. But it was good. It was much needed. I think as much for me, but really a lot for her, because head coach's wife, well, just coach's wife in general, there's a lot on your plate.
Can you explain how crazy that first, I mean, it was really like 15, 16 months that first year since you got there early, just kind of what that process was and how many hours a day you were kind of working and just kind of, I guess, how long you went without taking a break.
Yeah, Matt Dowdy and I were literally just sitting here talking, because he was saying, man, I don't even remember. I said something about the first year being a blur. And he's like, yeah, I'm doing things in February that I didn't get to do last February, just, updating stuff. Because the one thing that we really tried to do was when I got the job, we tried to make sure that the double T was anywhere and everywhere, and on the Recom tours and everything like that. It was a lot. It was fun though. I loved every second of it, and I'm loving every second of it now. Because we're back on the. Yesterday I was in Dallas all day. Flew back last night and was up ready to go for football school, and we just want to make sure to capitalize on what we did last year. But it's a lot. When you're first year and you're trying to get everything in place. There's a lot of times Debbie was coming up here when I first got the job, probably 8:30, and there'd be a group of us, and she was like, is anybody going to go eat? And we would, Blanche and Blanchard and Coach Martin and different guys would jump in the car. We'd go eat, and we'd be right back up here, trying to put the staff together, trying to put recruiting class together, trying to, organize everything that we wanted to do, in that first year. And then you get through with that and you jump right into spring football, and you're trying to install a new offense and a new defense and really a new culture. And so it was a lot, but man, it was fun. It was a fun first year, and I think we're going to be able to build off of that.
I saw a clip of you the other day talking about the stadium, and you were saying that, just like the double T, they were going to need a special type of crane to get you out of Lubbock, that you were going to die there. And you could see in your face that you were serious. A lot of coaches say that, but not all of them mean it. What about Lubbock? What about Texas Tech? What about this job makes that so true for you?
Well, I just think there's such a great fit. One, I'm a Texan. I'm a diehard. I am whenever I interviewed for the job, I had the state flag socks on. Texas state flag. I'm proud to be a Texan, and I'm probably one of those guys that if you're not Texan and you're around me, you probably sometimes go, man, I wish you'd shut up about the state of Texas. And so I think that's one. I think the people here, the passion that they have, one in Lubbock for their city, the passion that the fans have for their university, that draws me. I'm a very passionate person, high energy, and so that even more draws me. The administration and the backing, I mean, everything's down. They bulldozed the south end zone. I mean, we're probably 2 weeks away from starting to where we can start building up, and starting with the towers on each side. And so just the real backing, not talking about it, but hey, this is what we're doing. And you could see that they were serious about it. And then you're at a place that they want to do something special. And, we want to do it for the long haul. We want to do it year in and year out. And we want to do something that, hadn't been done here before. And so it's really attractive. Um, and I love being doubted. I love for that, that chip on your shoulder where you and I both know that's Texas Tech, that's the Red Raiders, that's West Texas. You got a chip on your shoulder and do things that people say you can't do. And so it's a perfect fit. And I mean it, man. You said it. And I hope everybody sees that. Like, because what's the first thing if you're at different jobs that we've had people that recruit against us that say, yeah, if so and so calls Coach McGuire, he's going to be gone, and that's just a soft, non-competitive person saying that. And for me, I want to be here and I want to show everybody that I want to be here, and I want to make sure the recruits and the fans and the alumni know that, man, I'm fired up to be a Red Raider.
We've all taken new jobs before, and you think you know what it's going to be. And then there's certain situations where it's like, oh, okay, I made the right decision. What was that for you last year, where it's like you kind of thought you knew what the job was, but then there was that moment where it was like, okay, we're going to do something big here. And I made the right decision to come here.
Well, there was a couple of them, at different times. Like our third, fourth quarter, I'll never forget. We're in Jones AT&T, and it's pretty dang cold. And I'm talking to him about quit worrying about the weather, focus on each other. And ShaRoderick Thompson said, "Amen, coach. That's what it's all about." And I'm like, "Oh, wait, we got a team that is starting to get it, and they're getting it in a hurry. They're not, there's you could start seeing that chemistry come together." So that was really big. And then, I thought I really knew what the Red Raiders about. And I saw it in basketball. You see stuff going on in basketball, but you're a spectator. You're part of it. You're not, on the field. And after beating Texas, and it was packed. It was sold out. The students were there early. I remember walking around the field, and they're yelling at me, "Let's go!" and all chanting my name and wreck them and all that stuff. And after that game, beating UT, seeing what that meant to the people in the stands and around the state, you could see this is a really special place that wants to get behind what we're doing here.
I reached out to some sources near you to get some questions. One of the things they wanted me to ask you is what do you call your undershirts?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. That's a great story. What Kenny Perry nicknamed my undershirts, character in the cut. And so in 2003, I ordered some McDavid compression shirts, and they sent me loose fit. And so I called them and said, "Hey, I need the compression shirts. What do you want me to do with these loose fit?" And they said, "Keep them." And so they're great shirts, but the sleeves kind of came like down to here. And I put one on, and it felt so comfortable. So I just cut the sleeves off. So they're all cut off here. And they're undershirts. So I don't really care what they look like. So like there's literally zigzags everywhere. And so KP nicknamed them character in the cut. I'll have one on probably here in about an hour after, I get through with some different things, take a quick shower and get ready. But I wear one every day. I think I had 90 at one time. I'm like at 40, now. That's the undershirt.
When I was up there kind of hanging out with you before that Baylor game, y'all went to a movie as a team. What kind of movie, like when you go to a movie or you're picking a movie, what kind of movies you into?
I really like everything. I'm really not a scary movie guy, and we watched a couple of them this year. And if we can, that week we just couldn't find anything else. But team movies, I'd rather watch something like inspiring, true story, or something action packed. We went and saw, the Black Panther, and the guys loved that. And we saw Woman King. That was probably my favorite that we saw all year. And so that's what I want before the game. But man, I'm telling you, I'm a movie guy. If I tell you a movie's not any good, never go see it. Now, if I tell you a movie's good, you might not like it, but
Right.
I watch a lot of movies whenever I get to downtime.
Out in West Texas, there's plenty of music to go see. What's the kind of the last time you went out and watched a concert?
Well, it was really cool. Last 2 weeks ago, our receiver opened up for Grant Gilbert. So uh, the night before, Thursday night, he reshot Hub City Shakedown in Jones AT&T. So I've got like 2 seconds in the video. And then Friday night, we went to the Blue Light, which is really famous out here. That's where Pat Green got started, and Wade Bowen and Josh Abbott, and so Hayden Wigington, who plays wide receiver for us, played at Midlothian Heritage. His dad's the head coach at Allen. He opened up, and it was awesome because he can really play and sing, but it's the first time that he's had a full band behind him, and he crushed it. And so the last one, I went to the Blue Light and saw Hayden Wigington, and then Grant Gilbert. Stayed for Grant Gilbert. I'm a big fan of him, and I'm a country music guy, so that's what's really cool being out here, whether it's the Blue Light or Cook's Garage. And we've had some really good concerts. And then I think we've got a couple this summer. I think Luke Bryan's coming out here, to play at our basketball facility, and so fired up to see him.
Do you remember the first concert you ever went to?
It was probably Van Halen in Reunion Arena. It was either man, I saw some really cool concerts whenever I was growing up or in high school, but Van Halen, I saw Michael Jackson in Reunion Arena. So I've seen some, different genres, but I think it was Van Halen. I don't know if it was, I don't remember if it was their jump tour of what they called it, but man, they were awesome.
They're pretty good live. They're pretty good
Yeah.
live. Did anything surprise you your first year as a college head coach, whether good, bad, indifferent, just kind of, hey, I didn't really expect that, or that's different than what it was in high school, or just whatever. There's sometimes in new jobs where just like something kind of comes out of the blue.
I think having such a great staff and everybody being on the same page, if there was something, um, we probably tackled it together, whether it was off the field, on the field. I mean, the surprises were like good surprises. It surprised me how fast the team came together. It surprised me, that they really bought into the culture. That's, we ask them to do a lot of stuff, within the rules, but then these guys are coming here to get an education, and they're coming here to hopefully developing the NFL players. And so you got to do a lot of stuff off the field away from here if you want to be that great. And we had some really good ex-players and some really good ex-players of mine. Jalen Petrie and Terrell Bernard came out and talked to the team and just talked about like stuff you got to do. And it surprised me how fast those guys bought in. I think we have a great model academically. We had our highest GPA that Texas Tech's ever had in the history of football. We had a 3.13 team GPA. And so I think just that overall buy-in is what surprised me the most.
Spring practice is just right around the corner. How different will spring practice number 2 look like compared to number 1? Just because y'all can hit the ground running a little bit differently than maybe you could last year.
I think the speed of practice, which, can shorten practice, I think that's going to be good. I think as much fundamentals as we worked, and that's what we believe in, I think we can take that to a whole nother level because you're not installing it and teaching a brand new offense and defense, and you never want fundamentals to take a back seat, but sometimes just the nature of a brand new offense and defense, sometimes that happens. And so I think, we'll be able to really dig and dive into that. And then we've got this roster is very like you have. It's not a balanced roster in age. You have a really old group and you have a really young group. Like half of the scholarship players are freshmen or redshirt freshmen. And so we've got a great opportunity in the spring to grow the older guys enough. Like I don't need to see Jalen Hutchins taking a ton of reps. You know, I need him to do individual. I need him to work on his pass rush one-on-one. He'll get some stuff, but I need Trey McAlpin, who's a redshirt freshman who didn't get to play last year. I need him to be taking reps. I need Duda Banks to be taking a lot of reps. And we've got some really, really good young linebackers. And so this spring will look a little bit different on how we balance the old guys' reps and the young guys' reps.
Quarterback was a spot we talked about a lot last year. You had 3 different guys start 4 games. Tyler Shuck, Baron Morton are back. How do you kind of go about using that competition and having those guys compete during the spring?
Yeah, like today, Tyler went with the ones. Thursday, Baron will go with the ones. I think if there was a situation where I had a true freshman mid-year and then a senior, then yeah, you can say, hey, let's create some competition, but it's not really like true competition because the freshman is so far away from, really pushing that guy. We're too deep all the way across the board at every position and some more. And there is a lot of competition. And I tell the guys all the time, look, if we started tomorrow, this is who would probably start. But you can't have like the whole DNA of your program being the brand, the toughest, hardest working, most competitive team in the country. And that last part says most competitive, and then say, well, I just think I deserve to be the starter. And so we're going back and forth. I think if we started a game tomorrow against whoever, Tyler would be out there. But Tyler also knows that there's a very talented young man that has started games, that have won games at the Division I level, that's just not going to give it to him. And we have, our left guard between Jacoby Jackson and Cole Spencer. Cole Spencer didn't get to play last year. We're a lot different in the offensive line right now. But I tell Jacoby, I said, man, you started 8 games. Just don't give it to him. And so iron sharpens iron, and these guys are really getting after each other, and doing a good job and have a great attitude.
And this is the time of year where I think a lot of articles come out about like what we would change about college football, and the presidents start talking, the coaches start talking. If Joey McGuire is kind of the czar of college football, what are 1 or 2 things that you think need to be altered, either just the calendar or, from the day-to-day, life of a college student or the coaches? What kind of needs to be changed right now?
Well, one, I think they got to be real careful. I think that some of the change might seem good, but for instance, I heard one of the commissioners say that he wants to change the December signing day. Well, that's a person that's never been on the road and never recruited in his life. And I would say that the December signing day, move it up if you want to change it. Don't move it back to the old one, because number one, you're going to have mid-years. We had 12 mid-years. So what's the difference between me getting 12 mid-years signed versus 24? Come on. December's hectic. But January is really nice that you've signed your class and you can get a year ahead evaluating 24s and 25s. So my coaches would say, where he said that December and January was really hectic, my coaches would tell you, yeah, December was really hectic, but January was, we could take a deep breath and go see those young guys and not have to worry about signing and holding on to kids in February. And so I think we got to be really careful about, how fast we say what's better for the sport. Now, if you're just talking about games and stuff like that, I watched the XFL the other night. I love that they can, in real time almost, or 2 minutes, evaluate and a replay, and speed up the game. At the Power 5 level, I know in the Big 12, we have the rock. We have people watching every single game. We have a replay official in the booth. I don't know why we have to go over and look at a little TV screen whenever somebody can be in somebody's ear. I saw it happen in the Texas Bowl. In the Texas Bowl, they replayed it within 2 minutes, and we're rolling. And so, I know there's a big deal about speeding the game up to a certain extent. That's a easy way to do it. And so, like to see some of that. The games. The one thing we have to do is be careful to not mess with the greatest game in the world. If we are going to change anything, let's make sure that it's the right thing and not just fundamentally mess with a game that, man, it's incredible. And you see it, in national championship games, you see it in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's everybody watches it, everybody loves it. And so we got to protect it and be really careful when we just spout stuff out about how to change stuff.
Last one, with the expanded playoff coming up and the Big 12 being where it's at, you were part of that Baylor staff when y'all went and won the Big 12 and won the Sugar Bowl. Last year TCU goes undefeated in the regular season and then goes to the college football playoff. What makes you believe, being in that room, that Texas Tech is right there as well to kind of be one of those teams that's going to be competing for Big 12 championships and playoff spots over these next few years?
We've got a really good roster. We've got a good coaching staff, and we've got a great administration, and we can continue to build off of that. In 19, if we would have played LSU, if we would have beat OU, in overtime at Baylor. And then in 21, we play in the Sugar Bowl, but if we don't lose a game earlier in the season, we possibly, are in the Final Four. And so I think there's really good football being played. I think you got to be really careful building up certain conferences. I watched the national championship game, and it got out of hand, but I do believe TCU deserved to be there. But after the game, one of my favorite dudes, Kirk Herbstreit, says, the SEC is ahead, and he put in the Pac-10. Well, I just know the Pac-10 champion got beat by the Big 12 champion the week before. And so you got to be careful who you're putting in that conversation. Georgia was the best team in the country last year, and they beat everybody they played, and anybody else could have lined up against them, and they were going to beat them. But Big Ten had a chance to be in that, and TCU won that game. And, and so we got to be real careful, of like, this conference is more dominant than this conference. I remember many years ago hearing Bob Stoops you can talk about teams being dominant. You got to be careful about talking about conferences being dominant, because there's some top heavy different conferences. And so Alabama's ruled college football for a while. Georgia is now stepping in there. You put them in any other conference, and then all of a sudden that's going to be the best conference. So I think you got to be really careful whenever you say that. Saying all that, I'm saying that the Big 12 should have been in that game last year. And I think if you play and win the Big 12 and you're the top one or two teams when they expand the conference playoffs, and you've got an opportunity to play in it, and we expect to be in it. They brought me here to win the Big 12 and to play in those games. And man, this staff and these players, we're not going to shy away from that. We're excited about it.
Coach, I always enjoy our conversations, and I'll be out in Lubbock in April sometime to do some magazine stuff.
Can't wait, man. You're crushing all the top 10s. I mess with you, but it's always fun because you're my guy. So thank you so much, man.
I need to stop doing those because it's a thankless endeavor,
I thank you, even though I give you a hard time.
All right, Coach. All right, be good. Get that undershirt on.
Yes, sir.
All right, talk to you later.